So Armando, the answer to how we factor 3x squared minus 10x plus 3 is when the a value is not 1, it's beneficial if you write out what your a, the number in front of x squared, your b, your number in front of x, and your c values are, the constant. So we have to then multiply our a and c values. So 3 times 3 is 9. Now we want to find what factors to 9 but adds to negative 10. So what adds to negative 10 but multiplies to 9? And we know that the answer is negative 9 times negative 1, or negative 9 plus negative 1 will get us those answers. So we keep the 3x squared plus 3, the first and last term, but we're now going to replace negative 10x by a negative 9x and a negative 1x. It doesn't matter which of the negative 9 or negative 1 terms where they're located. So that's what we mean by our new bx value from that step. Negative 9 and negative 1 are negative 10, but we're not going to combine those like terms. Now we have 4 terms. We are going to split this down the middle and find the GCF of both sides. The greatest common factor of 3x squared and negative 9x is 3x. The greatest common factor on this side, well, nothing goes into negative 1 and 3. So if I were to just say their GCF is 1, let's see what happens when we divide. So the next thing we're to do is to divide each term by the GCF on its side. 3 divided by 3 is 1, x squared divided by x is 1x. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Now, if I do the same thing on this side, I end up with negative x plus 3, and I have a problem. This should always be the same term on the left and the right after I divide out my GCFs. Now, what I realize is the difference between the two is a product of negative 1. So what that tells me is if I were to make the GCF a negative 1, I could then change the sign of everything to now have the same term. To write my final answer, the GCFs are together as 1, so 3x minus 1, and the common term from both sides, which is x minus 3. Now, if you're not sure that those two terms multiply, factor it out. So when these factored terms, I know 3x times 1x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9. Negative 1 times x. Negative 1 times negative 3. And after I combine like terms, I realize that gets me back to my original problem. So therefore, my factored terms are 3x minus 1 and x minus 3. This checks out, and that is my solution.